world. Welcome back to the railway. This episode is going to just be a little short episode because I got an interesting comment. I can't remember on what social media platform it was on, but someone asked me about what the loading gauge would be on a T-post railway. A friend of mine at work also asked how durable this T-post is typically when facing a load on top of it, or even blunt force trauma on top of it. He planned on building his own little section of rail, more for like a log station than an actual railway. He wants to either put a chainsaw on a cart or a log on a cart and move it under a chainsaw and make his own kind of lumber mill sort of setup. He's even planning on stretching the rail line out of his garage and to where he typically loads lumber. And I told him this would be a great way to do it, and I know exactly what I'm doing. If he just picks his gauge and his cart, I could definitely help him with that. But to address the comment online, they were very curious about how heavy my carts and my rolling stock could actually be on this little 7¼ inch gauge line. If the gauge were increased to 2-foot gauge or 1-foot gauge, how heavy a cart or a locomotive are we looking at being able to be on these steel rails? And that's kind of what I hope to try to answer in this episode. Hello, world. One of the questions I've been asked about my little backyard railway project made of T-post is how much force could this T-post actually stand on it this way? And I don't really have a good way to measure that. So what I've done here is I've drilled some holes similar to my railroad ties to allow the T-post to sit in the exact same manner that it does when it's screwed down as part of my railway. I'm going to screw it down. We're going to do some testing on it to see how much force it can actually withstand. This is a little piece from making a curve because I didn't realize at the time the inside of the curve would take a lot less space than the outside of the curve. So I ended up with uneven pieces and I cut them even. I think this should hold it down pretty suitably. There it is. So there are several ways in which this could fail. One is that it rolls. If it rolls over, then that would actually be a very bad sign, because that means my trains can't be that heavy because that would cause rolling of the track. The next way it could fail is it could mushroom out, which I highly doubt this would do because this steel has always been very hardened steel. But the third way it could fail is that it could splatter off and spin little fragments everywhere. So I'm going to actually put on safety glasses before banging it with a hammer, and then I'm going to bang it with an even heavier hammer, and then I'm going to hit it with the sledge, and we're just going to see which one of these causes it to fail. I know I can get it to fail eventually. The question is just how easy is it to get this little piece of rail to fail. And of course, safety first. And let's test to see if it'll fail from just a hit from a ball peen hammer. Not sure which side I should use for this. Okay. So what we have here is we have a very mild amount of deformation on the rail. And I don't think anything I'm going to be putting on it at this time would deform it to the same level of a ball peen hammer, at least carriage-wise. Maybe when I get into building wagons, we definitely wouldn't deform it. Maybe carriages or an engine would probably cause maybe this level of wear and tear on it over time. So we're going to keep going and we're going to see what causes the critical failure. Because the train could still drive over this for a nice long time before it has issues. So right there is the ball peen hammer spot. Let's take this bit at the end and we'll see what the sledgehammer does. So I've actually caused the rail to jump out of what I was using to hold it. So it has critically failed in its ability to be restrained. But I'm not seeing too much different damage from the hand sledge. A little bit of mushrooming. I can feel a tiny bit of mushrooming out. But no chips, no breaks. It's still perfectly usable. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the screws, probably add more of them, and then we're going to do the big sledge and we're going to see if I can get this to critically fail. I am no longer confident in my ability to get this to critically fail, because I kind of thought I was kind of thinking this sledgehammer would do a lot more damage than it did. That's screwed back on there pretty good. Now let's add a few more screws to really hold that in place so it's not flying everywhere. So here's the spot where I whacked it with the, I think, 3-pound sledge. Here's the spot I whacked it with the ball peen hammer, which is 16 ounces. Now we're going to hit it with the full-sized 18-pound sledgehammer right here on the white area. There's a reason I was doing this all on the green. I needed a little bit more surface area to aim with the white, or to aim with the big sledgehammer. And we're going to see what kind of deformation we get with that. My goal is not strong hits, but just fair, even hits that would be similar to what a rail might be subjected to. Let's do one power hit. It deflected it and went towards the wood. Let's do another one and see if I can get less deflection. All right. So there we have. All right. So there we have it. Obviously the this rotten piece of wood I used has a critical failure. In fact, I could probably just go ahead and pop that out. Throw that in the ground now. That, getting major mushrooming on this. Definitely metal deformation, but I'm not seeing any critical damage. That could still be a piece of rail. I wouldn't want to use it, but if I had to use it, do a farmer's fix, and it just has to work, that would definitely be functional. So I'm going to say this was a success, and I'm actually a lot more confident in what I put on this railway track. I thought for certain I would get some major failure, something to make this unusable, but I'm not seeing it. Like, I don't even think I would honestly notice that any more than I'd notice driving over one of my welds. So I guess that worked out just fine. I don't have the equipment necessary. Let me get myself on camera here. Whew, I had to come inside. My phone was sending me all kinds of major ultimate failure heat warning stuff, basically screaming about how hot it was outside and that it couldn't handle the heat. And I don't blame it. It's pretty hot out there. I just got done welding a piece of track that was bugging me. And whacking this thing with a hammer, of course. You've seen that. So, in conclusion, I think this stuff is a lot tougher than I thought it was originally. I knew it was hell to drill through, but that could be true of a very flimsy piece of metal that's just super hardened. But I didn't realize how much force this thing could actually take. If I'm hitting it with an 18-pound hammer, and it's only just barely deforming from that 18-pound hammer. And you gotta understand, an 18-pound hammer hitting it at speed hits a lot harder than anything I'm gonna be gently rolling across it. So that actually gives me a lot of confidence going forward. So I don't know. I guess T-post is actually better for making a railway than I thought it was, and I'm the one doing it. Thank you much. I hope you enjoyed this short video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. I am pushing harder and harder for getting that 1 million subscriber mark. If I get 1 million subscribers, I'm going to start monetizing my channel, and that means more trains. And if you run any sort of heritage railway or narrow gauge railway or anything, and you think, I wonder how much it would cost me to just put a little loop over here for kids to play on with just like something small and something disposable, I heavily suggest T-post. Do a little T-post loop in any available piece of grass. Give them some cheap wooden-made rolling stock, something you can play around and kick around with yourself, and they'd probably love it. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I'm saying bye-bye.